welcome back guys, this is me Dragos and I am back with another review. This time we are going to look at Joe Rogan's Strange Times, his latest special. It was released on Netflix last year. I don't know if you guys know much about Joe Rogan. If you are not aware of Joe Rogan, he's obviously been massive. You know, his podcast is the number one thing that people know him for, but he's been a stand-up comedian from like 88 or something of the sort, like crazy times, right? I particularly have not watched a lot of his stand-up, if I'm being completely honest. Joe Rogan has not been at the top of my list. However, if you guys do not know this, he actually does have 10 specials out. He has 10 specials recorded and released. Like, that is a lot of specials, isn't it? He started releasing them in 2000 and then steadily kind of, put them out there. Voodoo Punani, Live from the Belly of the Beast, Joe Rogan, Talking Monkeys in Space, 2010. I think that's probably one of the most popular ones. Shiny Happy Jihad, interesting. Rocky Mountain High, Trigger, Strange Times. But only 2 of these 10 specials are on Netflix, which is basically Strange Times and Triggered. And I've only watched Strange Times, so I'm gonna go into a bit more detail about that. A couple of thoughts before I go into it. A lot of people have asked me, why do I keep doing all these reviews? Why do I keep putting so much time like counting the laughs, counting the act out, and so on and so forth? And the reason for that is I'm doing it for myself as a comedian, right? It's not like the main goal was to start a channel doing reviews of stand-up comedy. The idea is I actually started doing this out of curiosity for myself. I'm a stand-up comedian myself. I do stand-up all over Europe. I'm based out of Berlin. So if you guys haven't checked out my stand-up, you can do so very easily in the description section. The point is, I have this theory that it's taken them about like 30 to 35 years to get to where they are, right? Now, my theory is kind of like we don't actually need to put in that much time to get to that level of quality because, we have, first of all, records. We have this whole database of comedy specials that has built up for the past couple of years available to us through the internet. And at the same time, if we can deconstruct some of these specials that some of the big comedians have put out there, kind of learn some of the lessons and basically adapt them much faster than they had the opportunity to do so. Because, for example, if you look at like Joe Rogan, if you look at like Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, all these big comedians, Chris Rock as well, which I will do a review next, they've basically their kind of opportunity and channels for learning this stuff has been just doing it on the road, doing the comedy clubs, and doing it by kind of watching other people perform live, right? But we have the opportunity to kind of watch all these specials. You have access to all this database of comedy, and what we're gonna do is basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna deconstruct, break it down, and learn what makes it tick, right? So if I can get these learnings out of there fast, then I can actually integrate them into my comedy and progress much faster throughout the comedy ecosystem, right? Now, of course, one of the main kind of like things of writing stand-up comedy is the writing part. Writing is a skill that you develop by doing more writing, right? But I believe that, the performance aspect of it is something that really is the thing where we need to focus on, and I need to focus on in terms of like, how do I increase my performance aspect? How do I stay in the bit longer? And in order to do this, basically, I've started kind of going in over these specials. And some of the key learnings from now has been like that most of the good comedians have 5 to 6 laughs per minute, and very high, almost 25-30% of the laughs generated are from act outs and voices, right? So what I'm trying to do is effectively trying to have enough of a source of data, kind of extrapolate some of the learnings. Male comedians do this, female comedians do this, black comedians do this, white comedians do this. Just have like a bit of data, compare, see what it looks like, and then try to cherry pick all the good stuff in order to improve my act, right? So if you guys are into comedy, then this is about like hardcore comedy improvement. And also if you're just a voyeur for the comedy scene, then it kind of gives you an idea what the thinking process is. But the main goal is don't spend 40 years improving the comedy. That's gonna come, but improve it to the point of 40 years in, let's say, 5 to 10 years, and then afterwards kind of discover new territories of improving the comedy and making better and coming up with more contemplative, innovative topics to push on, and so on and so forth. So that is what I'm doing these reviews. I hope that kind of makes sense for you guys. I will be doing a couple other ones coming in the next coming days for quarantine. I've already done Chris Rock and I just to record it. And I also plan on looking at some other big specials to kind of, get to the bottom, like Eddie Murphy. I want to look at Eddie Murphy, Delirious. I want to look at Jim Jeffries. I want to look at Nikki Glazer, maybe Michelle Wolf, and kind of, extrapolate some data. Once I have like about 20 specials reviewed, 30 specials reviewed. Yeah, so once I have this kind of like relatively good amount of numbers in terms of special reviews, I'm gonna make like a video like, oh, this is what I've learned from watching 30 specials of the top best comedians in the world, right? But yeah, if you have any suggestions, if you have any recommendations of what I should watch, what I should comment on, please leave a comment, subscribe, a like, and without further ado, then let us get into Joe Rogan's Strange Times. Okay, so Joe Rogan in this particular special in Strange Times, he covers 11 topics, and to be honest with you, like, I've made a couple of notes for this particular special because some of the topics and some of the way that it's delivered, I have some comments. But the topics are basically, he talks about a woman being president, he talks about Harvey Weinstein, Fox News, Megyn Kelly, the particular presenter on Fox News. It talks about this Florida undercover cop story, 70-year-old problems, being gay is, the word gay is not a negative. Vegans, animal, cat, dogs, and hamsters. Effectively, it goes into the differences and the fact that they're feral animal and shouldn't be kept inside. It talks about vegan cat food, African Jesus, a guy that was born from a woman with no vagina. He talks about women making all the people, and then he goes on to this big bit about women versus men. And women inventors, men inventing stuff, and so on and so forth. I mean, the thing is, like, if you were to compare the particular kind of jokes that Joe Rogan does at the moment in regards to his special, none of it seems to have a lot of depth to it, right? I mean, he points out does have a couple of very interesting. He does have a couple of very interesting kind of notes on the differences between men and women, observations about the current society. But I don't know. It feels like it's nothing extremely deep. Or extremely, maybe he's just a guy that smokes weed and has opinions. Maybe that's not the point of it, right? But it was nothing particularly memorable in terms of top. But maybe that's just me, right? All right, let's look at the actual numbers. All right, numbers time. So okay, so very clear here in terms of numbers. As you can see, Joe Rogan Strange Times has about 303 laughing moments, laughs in the total special. The duration of the special is about 64 minutes, which means he covers 11 topics. Average topic lasting up to 6 minutes, 5.88, 550 seconds technically. And then with regards to laughs per minute, he averages somewhere 4.73. 4.73 is what he averages, right? Which is, again, is not in the upper tier in regards to other comedians. You can see here the list, what the other ones have done. Obviously, Jimmy Gaffigan here leading the way aggressively with Louis C.K. and Tom Segura in second. I think just Louis C.K., Tom Segura, and Jimmy Gaffigan have actually broken the 7 on average laughs per minute. Of course, we've come to the conclusion that laughs per minute is not everything. Very good specials like Sebastian, Dave Chappelle, Ali Wong have averaged below that in the area of 5 and 4, but it seems that Joe Rogan does stay within the 4.73, so not as much. Actually, what I've done here, you can see, I've added a special category for Joe Rogan, which is yelling, because this particular special seemed to have a lot of yelling into it, a lot of basically Joe kind of yelling into the mic, right? So I don't know exactly what to make of it. Maybe it's his particular style. Again, I'm not super familiar with Joe Rogan comedy, but it did seem like there was a very large amount of yelling. 83 of the laughs were generated through some form of yelling, which amounts to 27%, right? But let's look at the act outs and the voices, right? Now, if you can see the act outs, 75 act outs and 56 voice modulation events, which counts to 21% in terms of act outs and 17 in terms of voice. Now, if you compare that with the yelling, clearly yelling is one of the major kind of tropes of Joe Rogan, if you will. There's a lot of yelling happening in the special. But yeah, in terms of act outs, I guess, slightly more than the average, or somewhere in the middle in terms of act outs, right? And voice modulation seems to be in the lower bottom. A lot more of the other comedians tend to have higher voice modulations, inching towards 30%, 20, 25, 30% with the exception of Ali Wong. But yeah, Joe Rogan is 17% and just a lot of yelling. So again, nothing particularly stands out here. He does seem to be in the lower tier of the specials compared so far. But let us look at the graphs and see how what do the graphs tell us? What do they tell us? All right, laughs per minute. This is how the pulse of the show looks like. As you can see, he does get to the point where he has about like 7 very consecutive couple of minutes, but on average you can see 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, a couple of 6s. Pretty stable. I wouldn't say the end seems to be weak, to be honest. But let us see minute 25 and 27. 26, 25, 25, 26, 27 seem to be minutes with high density of laughter. And that is because that is the bit about, alright, gay is not negative. And WWE is kind of gay. Those are the jokes that kind of generate more laughter. Very interesting. Okay, let us look at the distribution of laughs, characters, yelling, and act outs. So physical it stands for act outs, laughs is obviously laughs, voices, characters, and yelling. So I can see making use of all of them. The yelling is persistent throughout the show. Very high use of physical act outs here. This is I know what this is. I think this is where he lies on the floor imitating a dog. Let me figure it out. 42. Right, okay, yeah, it's the animal bit that he has, a very big animal bit. You can't feed a cat cranberries, which I thought was pretty funny. Alright, let's see what else we got here. We got the... Alright, I wanted to compare actually the pulse of the show with the pulse of other comedians. So as you can see, Joe Rogan is the orange, yellowish one, and then Sebastian, Ali Wong are blue and red. Do these tell us anything interesting? Nah, it seems pretty... Obviously, multiple lows here at the end, but other than that, seems pretty accurate, pretty fair. Ali Wong, Sebastian, Joe Rogan. The last couple of specials I've looked at, everybody stays in between 4 and 6. Joe Rogan, somewhere in between the two of them. Arguably, in my opinion, Joe Rogan is the weakest of these ones, with Ali Wong having a bit of a more interesting, more depth in content, and you know, Sebastian just being extremely awesome in terms of physical act outs. To the next one, we have Sebastian, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Tom Segura. Everybody's in their own lane here, as you can see. So as you can see here, everybody's in their own lane. Obviously, Joe Rogan coming in at the bottom, Sebastian just above him, and then Bill Burr and Tom Segura different lane. Alright, and let's compare the last one. The last one is Dave Chappelle, both Dave Chappelle shows, Joe Rogan, Bert Kreischer, Marc Maron, Taylor Tomilson, and Joe Rogan. Yeah, Joe Rogan comes above. So for this particular one, it seems like Joe Rogan basically kind of ranks slightly above Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones, but you know, obviously you can make the point that the cultural significance of each is considerably larger, right, of Dave Chappelle as compared to Joe Rogan's one, which because Dave Chappelle does touch on more sensitive, more aggressive topics. Taylor Tomlinson ranks right above. Then you have Killing Them Softly and Marron. Marron takes the lead here. Look at that, Bert and Marron in terms of LPMs. Very, very interesting. I think that's pretty much it for this one. I mean, we've kind of learned an interesting thing. To be honest, like you know, the thing with Joe Rogan in particular, especially, was I don't know, it just felt not as enjoyable as the other ones. It felt more of a. It's not something that I'll watch again. Didn't give me any particular, didn't have any memorable bits, right? I mean, vegan cats was maybe interesting, but other than that, there was nothing very heavy, nothing very innovative. It was overall obviously a decent special, and Joe Rogan has a massive fan base, but I feel like it was not his best. And again, I haven't seen some of the other ones, but I'd be more than happy to kind of consider and look at some of the other ones and kind of come up with a conclusion or something of the sorts. But I don't know, is there something I'm missing? Let me know what you guys think. If you have any other opinions regards to Joe Rogan, if you can recommend any other special. But overall, if you guys have, if you had fun, if you enjoyed this particular video, do like, subscribe, give me a comment there, throw a guy a bone, and come back for more. Let me know what other comments, what other specials to look at. But without a doubt, I am going to be doing Chris Rock next one, and it's going to be Chris Rock, Bring the Pain. I don't know why the fuck I'm stuttering while I'm speaking on camera. But that is it. Thank you very much for coming out. Thank you for coming out. Missing the stage. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And catch you in the next one. That is it for now. Thank you.